My next guest is coming off a huge win over Matt Dixon at Dana White's Contender Series, and of course, it is Orion Cosce. Orion, how are you, sir?
Doing good, doing good. How you, man?
I'm good. I appreciate the time, and wow, what a performance, man! I mean, we'll dive right into the particulars of the fight here in a minute, but it's been 10 days since you had that win, and your brother won as well, and got your contracts. What has life been like for you since?
Just normal. Just hard work, discipline, just making sure everything's all good and said and done, but still busy. It's always
Mhm.
busy. The only difference is now, you know, going around and people being like, "How's it feel to be a UFC fighter?" It's like it feels pretty damn fucking good. If you ask me, it feels pretty good. I'm not just an MMA fighter; I'm a UFC fighter now.
Yeah, and I can't wait for you to actually make that UFC debut inside of the octagon. Hopefully, it is soon. Let's talk about that win, man. That first round was tough. That was not an easy round. I think most people would say you did lose the first round. What were some of the adjustments that your team wanted you to make going into rounds 2 and 3?
I went in my corner, and right before they even said anything, I was like, "He's not taking me down again." I was pissed. I'm the wrestler going into the fight. He had a good takedown against the cage, and then the second and third, he capitalized on me overcommitting on some shots. He timed them perfectly, and we knew that he was going to do that. So going into the second round, it was more so hit him with heavy shots. When he shoots, just stuff the takedown, make him work, tire him out. Um, But I was trying to finish him in the second round too. Every time I was throwing those knees or those bombs, it was because I wanted to hurt him. But I knew that every time I was going to go and try to hit him this time, to try to set him up to try to shoot, to make him desperate for the shot so he'd wear himself down. Because in all his other fights that I've seen, he gets the takedown for the most part, or he's able to impose his will. I just knew if I kept hitting him, throwing knees, throwing short elbows, slapping him in the ear, just getting those shots off, it would just, be enough overall. Especially when I was throwing to the body, I felt like I did a good job in both rounds one and two with those knees to the body in order to be able to get him tired because you can only take so much punishment.
Mhm.
Third round, we were in the corner and I told my corner that, hey man, I'm going to finish him here. I was like, he's done. I broke his will. I'm going to go get this finish right now.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because I actually tweeted right before the third round started. I said, Orion's going to finish this fight. I could just see the momentum and the fight going that way. And it just seems like you did. You broke his will. You could really tell that after the second round that you felt that you did that and a finish was going to be in order here in round 3.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking for. I wanted to finish him in round one. When people ask me how I feel I'm gonna finish him, I said, I feel like I'm gonna finish him whether it be ground and pound or a submission. But I want to finish him in round one. But round three is just as nice. I've had a couple other round three finishes, so I don't mind.
Yeah, I was going to ask that too because this will be your third round 3 finish for yourself. Is this the hardest fight that you've had though? Is there another fight that was as difficult or more difficult than this one against Dixon?
Um, it's hard to tell just because he wasn't. Let's see. I can't say he was the toughest because it was every time I hit him, he got desperate, he backed out, and he would circle away. So overall, I think he was the smartest when I fought. I mean, obviously, yeah, it had to be the toughest fight just because of the fact he finally, he won a round. And all my other fights, I've never lost a round. And yeah, that kind of pissed me off. To put some fuel in the fire. I was pissed. I was like, he's not doing that again. It was either him or Wally Wester.
Okay. And you were the biggest underdog on this whole card. And you're saying that you lost that first round and that upset you and really added fuel to your fire. I have to imagine you probably were pretty fueled up going into the fight, knowing that, you were the biggest underdog on the card.
I was telling people the whole time, underdog or favorite, fucking put money on me. Put money on me and my brother as a parlay. We're gonna fucking win.
I understand you had some friends that actually won some big money. Is that right?
Yeah, fucking. I had people hit me up. They're like, "Man, I won, over 50 G's off you and your brother. Thank you." And I'm like, "Fucking send us some." I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "I wish I would have put some money down."
Yeah, well, again, a very great performance. And, one of the things that they always say in Dana White's Contender Series, what he's looking for is quick finishes. I mean, you got to finish over a previously undefeated fighter, but it was in the third round. Did you feel like it was going to be enough to get a contract?
That's why I started streaming, man. I felt like, like all those emotions coming out. That was both for, the fact I was able to get the finish, and also I just felt like the way I finished the fight, especially that third round, how dominant I was, how I was able to use the adjustment from the first round into the second round, carry the second round momentum into the third to finish it. I just knew that I had a contract.
Hmm.
I mean, I saw Dana and I saw him turn. He was like, "Holy fucking shit!" And like he looked speechless. So I felt like I knew that I got a contract, and then I already knew that if my brother won too. So
So afterwards, when he was giving the actual contracts, he was talking about at the end. I believe it was the end of the second round. You stopped and like looked up at the time as to how much was left, and I thought for a second, man, that maybe he wasn't going to give it to you, and then he came and did. Did your heart kind of go up in your throat for a second there?
nah. When he was like, "Man, I thought he gave up," and that's why I was like, "Nah, I don't give up." He's like, "Well, I thought you did," and we talked in the back after. It was, it was cool. We talked, and he's like, "Man, I've never seen that before." You usually when I see that in other fights, like in the UFC, he's right too. When he's seen that in like UFC fights, like a guy who's down first round or second round and it's a 3 round fight, and they go and they just touch gloves and they walk back to the corner like, fuck, like what do I do? But I didn't do that. Like I was like, all right, I was like sturdy with it. Like, I saw it and I wasn't like, oh fuck, like here, knuckles. I was like content with being like, you know what, let's go to the third round, I'll finish it there.
Now, were you more nervous leading into your fight or waiting afterwards after you got the job done for your brother to compete in the main event?
I don't get nervous when we fight, man. um I'm excited when we fight. I don't get nervous though. We've already trained our asses off. All the hard work is done when we cut weight and go to training every single day. But I think I'm more nervous when I watch my homies fight. It's weird because it's like I really want to see them win, and it's more of a like a did they train hard? Like, did they train good enough? Do they feel good going into this fight? Are they nervous? I'm only nervous if someone tells me like, man, dude, I'm so nervous. I'm like, fuck, now you got me nervous. It's like, now I don't know if you're gonna go in there and fucking dominate or not. But with my brother and I, we both like to fight, man. This is what we're born for.
You
So this
never
is all, and this is like second nature to us.
Gotcha. Well, I don't doubt that for a second. But early on in your career, you never got nervous. You never had that, even like maybe as your debuting fight as an amateur.
Debut as an amateur is the only time. I mean, it was like a prize tournament, so you pay $25 to enter, and if you won, depending on how many fights you had, you either won 250, 500, or $1,000. So it just depends on if you had one, two, or three fights. And I was supposed to have three fights, and I was like thinking, all right, cool, I'm gonna make $1,000 tonight off $25. That's really good gambling money right there. And fucking first dude walks up to me, he's like, "Yo, Orion Cosce, right?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I'm not fighting you." I was like, "Wait, what?" He's all, "Yeah, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm not gonna fight you, but good luck in the tournament. I know you'll win." I was like, "No, no, 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 you're fucking joking." My homie, he was right there too, and he was like, "No, fuck that." He's like, "You're gonna fight my boy." He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm actually gonna go right now, but good luck." And he fucking walks out the event and leaves, and we just sit there. I'm just like sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? And the promoter comes over. He's like, "Hey, Orion, we're looking for your opponent. Have you possibly seen him?" It's like 2 minutes later, and I'm just like sitting there. I was like, he just walked out the door and left. Like, he just told me he wasn't gonna fight me. He's like, "You're joking." I was like, "Nah, my buddy Jeremy." He was like, "Nah, dude, it was like the funniest shit I've ever seen." He came up, pretty much like blew his ego and said, "I'm not gonna fight you. You're too fucking good. I want to." And, he said some other stuff that he never said, like he was making jokes. And the promoter's like, "Well, fuck. Do you just want to fight right now, then?" And I was like, "Yeah, second round, right?" He's like, "Yeah, you can fight the second round." I was like, "All right, cool, let's get it done." Got
Wow.
into that. I was kind of nervous. I was like, all these people are watching. I was like, damn, like, what if he lands a lucky punch or something? But then after that, I mean, like, I took the guy down 7 times. I had a lot of ground and pound. I outstruck him. He didn't land a single strike, and I won. But after that, it was weird too because they're like winner by split decision. I was like, split decision? And I looked at like the judges and like the promoter came up. He's like, we found out what judge it was that scored you as losing that fight. We fired him immediately, and we already have a backup judge. And I was like, all right, cool, good, because that guy was fucking trash.
Well,
And then the
right.
championship fight, I was just ready to throw bombs. And then every fight after that, I've never been nervous.
So how did you first get into MMA? Like, and at what age did you decide, all right, this is a path that I want to take for a career?
I think as kids growing up, my brother and I, we were just raised watching it. We're like, dude, we can get paid to beat people up. That's awesome. I mean, it wasn't the first choice. I wanted to, play football or do wrestling at like an Olympic level, collegiate level. I wanted to be like a movie star and stuff. I wanted to be an astronaut. So growing up, there was a bunch of different shit I wanted to be. Alien hunter or zombie hunter, ghost hunter and stuff. But no, growing up our whole lives, I think we knew we were going to be fighters. We were watching the Pride fights just as kids and the original UFCs, the WECs, the Strike Force starts. We were watching all of them.
And obviously once you make it to Contender series, you're kind of like on the national landscape. Everyone's watching you. Everyone that's an MMA fan, for a lot of people, this is your introduction to the world, as coming from a regional fighter to now here you are on the doorstep of the UFC. And they talked a little bit about your backstory and everything that you guys went through. I mean, do you feel like the way everything that you've been through, you and your brother, that you guys are just different? Like you're a little bit tougher, you're a little bit hungrier, and it's just going to make you better now that you're here in the big show?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like a lot of the fighters, I've said it many times, a lot of them are fake, man. I'm not taking away from, the fact that they can fight, but I feel like a lot of them are fake. And I feel like once they do get hit, they get scared. You see it a lot with these fighters. They talk shit, but then all of a sudden in the cage, it's like they get hit and then their game plan changes, or after the fight, they're all fucking buddy buddy. It's like, nah, fuck you. It's like, if we're gonna be talking shit to each other, like, we ain't homies after. We ain't cool like that. And that's something my brother and I will do. Like, we've heard it plenty of times, people talking, fighting, and then after the fights, having them, like, after all that shit talk, even if we beat them, they'd be like, hey, man, like, let's hang out. And there's been times where I was like, I'll buy you a beer, but I'm not hanging out with them after, unless they were cool. Like, Wally Wester, he was cool as fuck. There was no animosity. The only thing he did was miss weight, but he traveled from Aruba to fight. And that's during the time where it was hard to find me a fight. And so I fucking respected the shit out of that. So, I hung out with him in his corner. We had a few drinks. We were just chit chatting. And he's a cool dude. So we talk every now and then still. A couple other fighters I've talked to every now and then just to see how they've all been doing. But there have been times where people like try to talk shit, and I'm like, man, I thought we were cool. Like, I'll fucking whoop your ass again. And then like they apologize. Oh, sorry. I'm like, nah, fuck you, man. Fuck you.
You know, it seems like maybe there are some interesting similarities in some ways with you and your brother and just how you're talking right now to the Diaz brothers, or at least just, how successful they were as fighters, and you and your brother are on that trajectory. Do you feel like because you guys have one another that it might help kind of bolster your stardom to another level sooner? You feel like that could be a possibility, or do you think it's just you're gonna have to go in there and produce at the end of the day?
I mean, at the end of the day, we got to go and produce, but we are definitely going to be fan favorites, especially for the fact that we don't mind fighting on the same card, man. We actually enjoy fighting on the same card. It brings more energy. It's like, well, let's face facts. I could have fought on this card by myself, or my brother could have fought on this card by or himself, and then the next week one of us fight again. There's not as much attention as there was when, holy fuck, two brothers fighting on the same card. You do not get this anywhere, and yet we did. So it got us a lot of attention. A lot of brothers, a lot of other people who have brothers, or a lot of other people who are watching the fights. I had a bunch of people message me and contacted me being like, dude, it is so cool to see like you and your brother don't give a fuck. You guys are like the new Diaz brothers. It's like, we respect the Diaz brothers. We grew up watching them, but we're not trying to be like them. They did their own thing. We're doing our own thing. We're not out here trying to be like them. But if being real means being like them, that's cool then. Um, we're not trying to be a copycat of any other brothers. We're just being ourselves. We just don't give a fuck. We just like to fight. We enjoy each other's time. We like talking shit. And it's not like talking shit in a sense of we like to go and like start drama. We like to talk shit with each other and make jokes and just have good laughs, and with our friends and family just talk shit and have good laughs. Like when we say like we talk shit, that just means like we're shooting the shit, seeing how each other's doing. Uh Kind of almost getting under each other's skin to see like what joke can we say today without getting too far.
Right. Right.
It's always a good time. It's always a good time with my brother and his family. I'm actually gonna go and see them tomorrow, so I look forward to that. His birthday was yesterday. I get to go see him at the lake, and we're gonna have a good time. I get to see my nephew, so I'm always happy when I get to see my family.
That's awesome. And his nephew that you're talking about, I'm assuming this is the same young man that overcame cancer, correct?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? So is he doing really well?
He's doing amazing. He's been cancer free for a while, and it was rough on my brother. There'd be phone calls where he's like, "Dude, they're saying he's not gonna make it today," and it was rough. It was rough hearing that, but I just told him, I was like, "Dude, let's just pray." I'll talk to some doctor buddies. I do have doctor buddies. I was, just nonstop trying to make sure like he had what he needed, and we're lucky that nephew is alive. Almost all the time being told like we don't know if he's gonna make it. So that was rough on my brother. He matured a lot from that. He aged a lot from that mentally. Like that's draining, man, to be told that your boy is probably going to die and there's nothing they can do. Like to put him into a medical induced coma, saying if he does pass, at least it's not painful for him. It's like fuck, like, and all I could do is be there for my brother, however I could. Whether it was over the phone or in person. But I think that was one of the hardest things. If I think that was the hardest thing my brother's ever dealt with. Like, we dealt with shit growing up, but being told like your offspring, that's something I could never imagine. And that was just my nephew, and so I was just like, fuck, I feel it too. But I just told him, I was like, keep your head up. I'll do some research, and I did my research, and it was, I feel like it was a good thing because I was talking to my brother about it always after, and he's like, dude, that hearing you just being positive the whole time while the doctors were being negative, even if it did look like bad, you always having like the yeah, but in most cases, they only do that because of the fact, if they put them into a coma, it's because they have to let the body rest, and in most times, there's a huge recovery rate, even at the stage of cancer that he had, with the tumor. I just told him, I was like, he is a baby, but he's also a fucking Cosce, and we've been through a lot. He's gonna be a fucking tough kid. He's gonna make it through. He'll do sports, and they try to tell him like, nephew isn't gonna do sports. They're gonna be like, he's not gonna be able to do sports. He won't have normal growing up. He'll have to do like special shit. But I just kept telling him, I was like, bro, your boy's a fucking Cosce. Like we're just different.
Mhm.
And now he's wrestling and stuff. He wants to play football. He likes to go out and catch spiders. He got look, uncle, and he's like holding the spider by his leg. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's
And
awesome.
he's like literally he's a carbon copy of his dad. It's amazing.
That's fantastic. I got to tell you, that really struck a chord with me when I heard about that. It will actually be 2 years tomorrow. I lost my father to cancer, so I absolutely hate cancer, and I couldn't be any happier to hear that he is had a full recovery and he's living a good life. I'm very very happy to hear that. Let me ask you this, because obviously at the end of the day, both you and your brother want to climb the welterweight rankings. That's your goal, but you're not going to fight one another, right? That's never going to happen. So what would you do if you guys do crack the top five and you're right there? Would one of you change a weight class? Is that something that you guys have discussed?
First off, press you and your family. Cancer sucks, so that sucks to hear. I'm sorry about that. He's eventually going to drop down the lightweight. I'll stay at welterweight, and then in a couple of years after we start running through those divisions, we'll both make the weight cut, weight adjustment to go up. I can fight at 70, 75, 80, 85. I can fight at all four weights. It doesn't matter. I'll do catch weights, or there's always that rumor going around that the UFC is thinking about adding weight divisions. So if they weighed it, to where it's 55, 65, 75, 85, I would fight at 75 and 85. He would fight at 55, 65. And it would just be perfect. Because then I can start the career at 75, he could start it at 65, or he can start at 55, but I'll never cut to 65. I can't do that. I got a heart condition that I got to worry about, so it's one of those things where it's like I've tried, but also I'm gonna go to the UFC PI and see exactly if I ever could. It's one of those things where it's like, if I can be a 3 weight class champion, I'll try. I'll do my best to do it. We'll see how that goes, though. If I can be just champion in 1 weight class first, that's the goal. Be a champion in 1 weight class, stay undefeated, and then eventually bump up. And I'm not that guy who's afraid to take a super fight. I'll take a fucking super fight. I have no problem doing that. Just not against my brother unless it's for a lot of money.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it'll never happen. We're always joking around like 500 million with 50% of the pay-per-view points, but the 500 million has to be for the both of us, like each 500 million each, untaxed. The IRS can never fucking touch it, like that kind of money.
yeah. It'd be that McGregor money.
More than that, like that's Cosce money right there. That's the way I was saying. I was like, no one ever makes that money. Not even in boxing do you hear people making 500 million.
Right.
So that's the kind of money I'd want, but it'll never happen. So it sounds like the Cosces fighting each other will never happen.
Yeah, well, that's not a surprise. I can't imagine that would even cross your mind. But with being in the same weight class, it's a question that I had to ask. Let me ask you this: when you do look at the landscape of the welterweights right now, I know I saw a previous interview. You're not calling anybody out. You're new. You're going to wait and just see what they give you. But I mean, where do you feel like you stack up right now? When you look at the guys in the top 15, like how confident do you feel you'd be able to go right in and get some big wins over some big names?
Very confident, but I also don't want to be getting paid, small money for it. I want to get paid what I'm worth, and I know I'll be worth a lot, and my brother's going to be worth a lot too. We've been watching the UFC for a while, and I think, why the fuck is this guy number 9 in the rankings? How the fuck is he up there? And then you just see it. It's because they're being fed these people that just aren't good, and then they rack up a couple of wins, and once they rack up those wins, they hop in the rankings, maybe because what they're saying on social media or what they're doing outside, or politically speaking, like some fighters, feel like they gotta dye their hair certain colors, or get certain tattoos and do certain antics outside of the cage to get people talking about them. One thing that doesn't make sense to me: how is McGregor still in the top 5 if he's retired? And that's one thing that never made sense. So people are like, whatever, we're not going to believe it because he's in the pound for pound rankings, but he's not active. And his last win was against Cerrone, who is not a contender anymore.
I'm glad.
That's, man, like there's favoritism in the UFC because of who brings the money. And that's how a lot of the rankings are. There's people that are ranked higher than some other guys, and I'm like, oh, that's easy money. I'll put money on that. And there's times where I've won money on like a huge underdog because I know going into the fight, like the only reason why this guy has been winning is because stylistically his management has done a good job of only getting him certain fights. So like a wrestler fighting somebody who's only a pure striker. Well, if the wrestler's taking it down to the ground, the other guy doesn't have jiu-jitsu or grappling, like, hey, fight's gonna go one way. So that's kind of an easy call, But if you got a striker who has wrestling defense and has wrestled before, so a Gaethje type fighting another wrestler type, that's why you see Gaethje able to do what he does. He's able to do a good job defending takedowns, but he's also down to fucking keep it standing and banging because he has good striking.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. He's working his way to a title run. So I feel like, with the Gaethje Khabib fight heading up, that's going to be a dangerous fight for Khabib. When's the last time Khabib has fought somebody that's also been good at wrestling?
It's a good point. I can't wait for that fight, and I think you're right. I mean, I think Justin will give Khabib a very, very difficult stylistic matchup, and very well could beat him. I'm happy that you mentioned Cowboy Cerrone because he's actually fighting Nico Price here soon, and I mean, there's been guys falling off left and right, and short notice replacements like we've never seen before because of the pandemic. If they were to come to you and say, "Hey, got a short notice fight against Cowboy or Nico," just tell me how you feel you do against either of those guys.
I'd finish either one of them.
I love it. That's why I think you and your brother are going to be stars. You guys, you have the talent and you have the confidence to go in there and do clearly what you're doing as you're both undefeated right now. As far as Team Alpha Male goes, how long have you guys been there now, and what have they done to really improve your overall game?
So I've been at Alpha Male for about 2 years now, 2.5 years almost. I can't remember the exact time frame. I think it's like 2.5 or actually 3 almost now, because I've been living down here for a couple of years. But I do a lot of traveling back and forth between, me living down here in Sacramento and me going up to Humboldt County to train with my brother, because my brother still lives in Humboldt, which is 5 hours away. But it just depends on the weather too. It can be a 6 hour, 6.5 hour drive if the weather's bad. I like to drive at night because the way I see it is like if I drive at night, I'm not wasting my day. And then I can sleep in just a little bit, and then I can spend time with my brother and the family, and we can go train once or twice every single day. But he comes down here every now and then too to train, and I like Alpha Male. There's a lot of bodies, but I can't sit here and say, and it's nothing against Alpha Male. It's the best MMA gym, and it's tied with Lost Boys because Lost Boys is my original home. There was no difference. The only difference is there's more people to train with. But my best training partner, and again, it's not a knock to any other guy, but even my teammates say it, your best training partner is your brother because you guys are able to push each other in a fucking way no one else does. I'm at practice and it was funny. Me and Munoz, we were training together, Alex Munoz, and we're doing sparring. I was like, no, go ahead, hit harder. He's like, what? I was like, rip me with your fucking knees. Like, we were sparring. I was like, rip me with your fucking knees. I was like, don't be like kneeing me in the head, but like, rip me in the stomach with your fucking knees. I was like, hit me hard, let's go. And he starts throwing, and I'm like, no, harder. And he's all right. And so, like, one of the coaches sees it. I think it was Joey Rodriguez. He came over. He's all, whoa, hey, cool it down, guys. And I'm not hitting hard back. I'm like just going through the motions. I was like, no, I told him to. And now it's just all, this crazy fuck right here told me to rip him with knees to the stomach hard. And we're just laughing about it. I was like, no, it's good for you. It's that old school body conditioning. I was like, just don't be trying to like knock me out with shots, And he's like, fucking like that, man. You a crazy little fucker, huh? He's all, that's that back. He's all, that's that woods growing up shit right there. You and your brother are fucking cool. I was like, all right. But your eyes always telling me, he's like, hey, I need you to tone it down. I was like, no, I'm telling him, rip me in the stomach. And so after training, there'll be times where I'm like, hey, man, let's do some body conditioning. And I'll have him like hit me in the stomach. I'm like, no, harder. And like, we'll fucking go. And we'll just rip each other in the stomach with like punches and kicks. And it's good. It builds that camaraderie. If you can do that with a guy at the gym and not be upset about it after, you've built that camaraderie with that person. So there's a bunch of people at Alpha Male that I'm homies with, and it's always a good time.
Well, that's great to hear, and we're all looking forward to seeing what is next for you. Last question for me: when would you like to step back in next? If you had a perfect time frame, when would you like to have your next fight?
I wasn't able to get back into training like I wanted to this week. I was letting some recovery go on. I gotta still do an ice bath. I want to do. I haven't done like a full body like ice thing yet, so I've only been doing that with like my arms and like my feet, my knees. I feel good, but come Monday, that's the only time I can like be like, hey, how am I doing? So on Monday, I'll be right back to it, doing my double days again. I feel like taking time off was good just because I was training nonstop since February for this fight. I was outdoors training. I was doing a lot of training every day. I was still finding ways to train. So it's just one of those things where it's like, taking that time off, let's see how it goes. I'm going to go for a run later on this evening. I'm going to go swimming all day tomorrow. I'm doing light activity to keep myself busy.
Mm-hmm.
But come Monday, I'll be able to have a full week of training. And I want to be able to fight against September 19th. my weight is down. It's at like 190, 193 or something like that. It's floating between. And I'd be able to make that cut. A couple weeks they told me, hey man, we need you to make it down to 71 for a fight. I'd love to. But I think right now, in the works, they have possibly, the brothers making history again with that, making their official debut. And, when that happens, I'll be happy. But if it does happen, it'll have to be probably at the end of October, so Halloween or early November. And I'd like to have it either the last week of October or the first week in November so I can fight again right before Christmas. I want to fight 2 or 3 more times before the end of the year. So if I can fight, you know, Halloween or first Saturday of November or first Wednesday of November, because you know how sometimes they do like those Wednesday fight night cards. If they end up doing one of those, then it just comes down to, hey, I want to fight again right before Thanksgiving. Because let's face facts, no one likes to fucking cut weight during Thanksgiving. You got all those pies, you got turkey, like you got too many good fucking food right there, and it's like, nah, fuck this. I've done it my whole life. If I had a fight leading up and it's like right after Thanksgiving, I'm pissed. And people are like, oh, well, we'll save you food. It's like, it's not the fucking same. You're saving. It's not fresh made on the table. I get to enjoy it and watch some football. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, I've never stepped inside the cage myself, but I can feel your pain just not being able to be there at the Thanksgiving table. That sounds absolutely miserable. Let me tell you this. I believe it's UFC 254, the Khabib Gaethje card, and also they just put Ferguson and Poirier on that card. You also have Robert Whittaker and Cannonier. I mean, it's an insanely stacked card. That is the last week of October. That would be insane if both you and your brother could get on that one. So maybe that's something that Dana White will look to make happen.
That'd be fucking sweet. I got my passport. My brother's still working on getting his. So if he can get his passport, they want to send us to Abu Dhabi. We'll fuck people up over there too.
There you go, man. Well, again, congratulations on the big win and the UFC contract to both you and your brother. I really appreciate you joining me and being on the show for the first time. So very cool. Glad to have you. Before I let you go, anyone you want to thank or any social media that you'd like to plug? The floor is yours.
Yeah, the social media is at Galaxy Cosce. That's both Instagram and Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram. Twitter's, I just hope it dies violently one day. I hate Twitter, man. Everyone on there is like all cancel culture, and then all these fucking TikTok kids. It's like, dude, I wish they'd all just like trip and break their phones and cry about it some more, because that's all they fucking do. There's people who have to have cry rooms. Are you fucking kidding me? We had a cry room be built because like when Trump got voted into office, I'm not gonna sit here and say like he's the best, because I think they're all the fucking worst. I think everyone in politics is the fucking worst. They're all pieces of shits. But it's like, people literally cried about a dude who got elected. And it's like, it's fucking pathetic if you're letting a guy dictate your life. It's like, my life hasn't really changed. Like, I don't focus on politics much. I'll see it every now and then. And then people will be like, did you see? I'm like, nah, man, I was training. I was living my life. I was outside hiking. I was going for a fucking run. I was like, but did you see, like, how, you're not doing anything with your life and you're just letting some dude affect it when they're not affecting your life whatsoever? And they're just like, well, what about COVID? I'm like, if you didn't watch the news, you wouldn't have knew what COVID was.
It's true.
And I just tell people all the time, like, I'm not saying COVID isn't real. Like, I get it. Like, it's there. But why let it stop you from living your best life? Go outside, go outdoors. You gotta be outside. Like, they're saying, stay inside your homes, close the windows, don't talk to people. It's like, so growing up when there was fucking chicken pox and you knew that if you got chicken pox, there's a possibility it turns into smallpox, or, if you don't get chicken pox, like, you pretty much, like, they're fucking putting kids together. Herd immunity bullshit. Nowadays, it's like COVID. Hey, man, fuck you guys. Like, stay away from each other. It's like, whenever kids got the flu, I remember as a kid, they'd be like, well, it's a new strain, so we got to get you sick. And it's like, well, fuck you. It's like, hell no. You always hear about it. It's like the vaccines. It's like, oh, you'll probably get sick. It's like, why am I probably going to get sick? I thought this is supposed to make me not sick, though. Well, you're probably going to get sick. It's like, well, fuck. Same shit all the time, man. So I just tell people, go outdoors, be happy, hang out with your family and friends. You got a fucking short life. Are you going to live in fear, or are you going to be the guy who goes out and does what they say they're going to do. I've been saying it for 2-3 years almost. I was telling my brother, I was like, in 2020, you and I will be in the UFC. And at first he's like, man, it's not that easy. I was like, no, it is. In 2020, you and I are going to be in the fucking UFC. And I remember telling my coach, Brian, that, from Lost Boys. So shout out to Lost Boys, Team Alpha Male, all my sponsors. But even after, like, Brian, he was in the back, and he's like, dude, I fucking remember 6 years ago when you and I met, you told me that you and your brother were going to be in the UFC. I remember a couple of years ago, you said in 2020 you'd be in the UFC, so I'm so fucking proud of you guys. I'm glad to be you guys' brother, and I'm glad to be by your side during this whole entire ride and be able to help you and just call you guys family. And really, dude, we're just glad that you stuck it out with us. There's a lot of people, they're always telling us like, oh, fighting's not a career, that's not a real life path. Like, you need to have a job. What is your job? And I tell people, I'm a fucking fighter first. Everything I've ever done for work is my side career. That's just to get by until the fighting starts paying off. And same for my brother. Every job we've ever had, all that was just a side hustle, because training is our job. Fighting is our job. It's our life. And now we're in the UFC, and we've had a lot of people hit us up and be like, you made me eat words, or people being like, I fucking knew you'd always do. And it's like, it's cool. It's cool hearing both sides. But shout out to everyone in general, man. And fuck the government. That's all I can say. Keep living your guys' best life. Make the right choices. Don't do drugs. Don't be a piece of shit. That's all I can say. Just stay real. Stay true. Be yourselves.
Gotcha. Well, hey, listen, great interview, man. I appreciate the time again, and let's do it again before your next, or if you're actually before your UFC debut fight. Let's make it happen.
Let's do one before, do one after.